Greetings, friends of the apocalypse. This is Podcast at Ground Zero, your home for the apocalypse, for episode 74, Legion of Gold.
Legion of Gold.
Legion of Gold. I am the Apocalypse Nerd, and he is Adam Bomb Glancy. So this week, we're going back to Gamma World. I talked about it a long time ago. Now we need to make it back to Gamma World. And you know what? I think we're going to do more of that because it's like, you know what? I love Gamma World. And after rereading stuff, I want to do more Gamma Worlds. You know, you got 2 Twilight 2000 episodes. I want a couple of Gamma World episodes.
All right, that's fair. That's fair. I am 100% in favor of this plan.
So we're going to talk about, the TSR module for Gamma World issued in 1981, Legion of Gold. Not really going to start with anything this time. Just going to kind of go into the episode because I kind of like how the episode last week went for. Oh, and by the way, folks, this is what 3 episodes in a month. We're on fire. Let me tell you.
Have we completely forgotten how to slack off? I mean, I think something's gone terribly wrong here. We're just, I don't know.
Bob would not be proud.
No, he would not.
By the way, if you folks need to know Jer Bob Dobbs, look it up. But
yeah. We're not here to educate you. We're here to educate you about the things that we care about.
Exactly. Exactly.
Only.
It's unfortunate the only things I have the patience to learn have no value in life, or something like that, Calvin says. So I like the way that format went with the off-topic stuff, because I remember that, I forgot a couple of things I wanted to talk about. And there's some other things that have come up, and it's like, you know what? We'll save that, and we'll drop those little, 45-minute shows, hour shows, and just talk about other stuff. I think we'll do those on a regular basis and kind of save some of the pre-show talking for those episodes, because I said I forgot a bunch of stuff. I'm going to write it down. I was like, I forgot to show them this. I forgot to talk about this. So bad on me. But the only thing I do want to talk about is we had our winner for the contest number 2, the coloring contest. So I announced the winner. And he will be getting his copy of Jerry Ahern's The Survivalist #1 Total War. We had 5 entries into the contest, not a lot, but we're a small little podcast, so I'm surprised we get anything. So, but what we did like about the entries was each entry was unique and different. No 2 people did the same thing, which was cool. It's like one person did actual crayons, one person used Photoshop, one person used Microsoft Paint. One person did a bit of an abstract type of a piece. So everybody did it differently. Everybody's looked completely different. So that was really cool. So there was a lot of good creativity with the contest. So we really liked that. But as you saw when I posted the winner, that the one with the crayons kind of won our hearts. We were just like, yeah, you know what? That's kind of how I do it, So that's the one we enjoyed the most, and that's the one that won. So no worries if you didn't win this contest. I showed you last time I have a stack of books for future contests. So I'll have to come up with another contest to figure out how to give away those books. I'm not sure what to do yet, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah, I was. There were a lot of amazing entries, but the crayons felt very appropriate for that time and place.
Yeah, and for folks, it's not like we told you that you should have done it with crayons to make it better. It's like we told you to do what you wanted.
The guy who did the felt tip illustration was great. The guy who used the computer illustration and coloring program looked like it came from Hanna-Barbera's studios as one of their promotional pieces. But the crayons was just that just really was the sort of the right thing.
Yeah, it's what we like the best. Again, there was no right or wrong in the contest, folks. So, but like I said, we appreciate everybody who entered, and we appreciate get a chance to look at what you had. So. So that's all I want to say about that. But now let's dive into Legion of Gold. It was the first module, GW1, that came out in 1981 for Gamma World. It was the first module for Gamma World, even though Gamma World previously came out in 70. 70. Oh my God, I should be hung up. Is it 77 or 8? Was it? No, it wasn't 8. Was it?
Thought it was 8. Well, fortunately, you keep talking, and I'll go use the device. Well, there you go. Where's your copyright right on that?
Yeah, I got it right here. Hold on, I got my glasses. Oh, it was 78. Duh. Man, I should be strung up for not knowing these things. But 78. So the first module didn't come out till 81. So you were kind of on your own for 3 years. Now,
yeah, and I can remember, the stuff that I was coming up with as a game master or referee or whatever they called the guy who ran it. Not dungeon master, but I can remember the stuff that I was coming up with. So when this came out, it kind of knocked me for a loop, because this really wasn't what I was expecting. And once it came out, it changed the way I looked at Gamma World and Gamma World game design and scenario design forever after this.
Oh yeah, and the thing is with the Legion of Gold, this I think was the only one like it. This one is very because this was done by Gary Gygax with Luke Gygax and Paul Ritchie III. So this was done by Gygax, and it has that kind of stamp on it. It definitely has that feel of a lot of because a lot of D&D modules that come out prior to that, so it kind of has that feel, to that. And anything after that didn't quite have that feel. Not that people didn't make good modules, but they had a different feel, because the Legion of Gold, I think out of all the models that ever came out for Gamma World, I think this one was really truly the only sandbox, because you had an adventure, you had a main adventure, you had mini adventures, but they also populated the area with other mini encounters that you could do. Or if your people go, they set up the main area, the city of Horn, which is the main city in this region. They detail that very well, give you a lot of information about it, so it can almost be like a base of operations. You can have other adventures of your own create stem off of this. So it was definitely a very good sandbox module, a lot of additional information in it, but nothing else that came out after that was like this. You had GW2, Famine, and Fargo. That was a rite of passage module. You had the Albuquerque Spaceport, which came out in the mini screen, which was just a one-shot mini adventure, which was very good.
It's really just an encounter.
Yeah, it's an encounter, a big encounter. Well, yeah, it's a decent size encounter. I kind of really enjoy that because I actually played to that one. Then you had GW 3 and 4. You had the Cleansing Wars of Gordic Blackhand. You had the Mind Masters. Both of those were still kind of almost not quite rite of passage, but they were kind of adventurers starting out. Then you went into 3rd edition, which had the series of modules like Alpha Factor, and all those were.
You're also forgetting the Into the Ruins. Which
the Into the Ruins, which was in the 2nd edition box set. But it wasn't a published module per se, like like these like the other ones.
Yeah, but the fact that it's a published module is always a good plan, because I think most games need to have a published module with them as a starting demo on the tone of the game, the atmosphere. I think that's really useful for starting game players and game.
Great. So that's what kind of was missing in the 1st edition set, whereas the 2nd edition had that. Which
all they have is that weird little write-up of the Grenberets. You remember that in the 1st edition book? There's a write-up of, you're sort of a rite of passage write-up of like, okay, here's a setup for a game. You're in a tribe descended from, a warrior people called the Grenberets. Whose leader John Juan or something. It's all John Wayne and the Green Berets and
from the sample world design they had.
They went with a sample world design rather than a sample scenario, which was really interesting to me because it was like a 10,000-foot view as opposed to something nice and specific that a player could, players and game master could immediately get involved with.
Yeah. So that it had that, and then the third edition modules were like one long series like campaign. So it wasn't really a sandbox, and it wasn't just individual like rites of passage. It was a little bit different. And then fourth edition came out. It had a couple of adventures. It had the mutant masters and all animals must be equal, which are you could like especially all animals must be equal. You could drop the zoo because it was like a mutated animal campaign adventure. You could drop it. You could drop it in anywhere. The mutant masters. They had Home Before the Sky Falls, which was a just like a big adventure, So nothing really was like Legion of Gold. That sandbox wasn't a rite of passage, and that's it for modules because then you had
you're right. Mind Masters. A lot of these were, Cleansing Wars of Gark Blackhand was very
crappy.
Well, I want to say that it was just a bunch of scenes that you kind of bounce from one scene to the other.
Yeah.
In pursuit of one goal, and then you're done. Harn, this area around the barony of Harn, is sort of set up in a way that you could you could revisit it, right? You could revisit it and do other things.
Yes, hence they really did set up for like long term, like a sandbox, which was really cool. And then there was no other mod again in 5th edition, 6th edition, 7th. There really wasn't any other modules except for 7th edition tried to emulate that, but it was just basically more board game miniature components. But that's a whole nother story. But Legion of Gold. Me and Scott were talking about this beforehand. I asked him, I said, would you believe it if I told you I had 3 copies of Legion of Gold? And he goes, yes, I do. I only have 2.
Yeah. When I went to pull them off the shelf, I realized I had an extra copy up there. And I don't know what the difference is, except, they both say, 1980 TSR on them. They all look identical on the outside. One of them is a little darker than the other. And I don't know if that's because they're originally printed or one of them has faded over the years to be less dark.
Probably faded. I would say it would go with that because the 3 copies I have, here is my original copy. People who are listening to the podcast can't see it. I have my original copy that I got probably in 82, 83. Mm-hmm. This is my original copy that I've had for 30 plus years. I have a second copy that I got probably, 15 years ago on eBay when you can still get this stuff cheap because my camera is so out of focus.
Yeah, you are. You're a little blurry, sir.
Yeah, it's not. There you go. It's because I'm moving around too much and the autofocus isn't catching me. Now everybody thinks, King Midas has come by and touched all their old stuff. So they're like listing it for outrageous prices for the biggest pieces of crap I've ever seen. They're like vintage and anyway. But this is a copy I got for I don't even know where I got this. I got it on eBay or got it in a bookstore or something. I got it for a couple of dollars, and this was my Turlet copy for many a year.
I'm sorry, your what copy?
My Turlet. You got to sit on the turlet. You need something to read when you're sitting on the turlet. Okay.
I see.
This is well before I had my first smartphone. So, this sat on the back tank of the turlet. And, if I knew I was going to be there for an extended period of time, at least I had something to read. So I have that. And I originally picked up, I still have it, and I have it in a backing board thing. I have a sealed copy. Why do I need a sealed copy of it? Well, because it's a sealed copy. I got to have a sealed copy of it. Yeah. So 3 copies of Legion of Gold. 3
archival purposes. You've got to keep an extra copy for the archive.
3 copies. Who needs 3 fucking copies of Legion of Gold? Who in their right mind?
There's two people out there who do not have copies of Legion of Gold, and they want to know why they don't have them. It is because you are hoarding them, sir.
Yes.
You are hoarding the Legion of Gold.
Hey.
You bogarted all the Legion of Gold.
Hey, there's plenty of them up on eBay, but people want vintage game module. We don't even know what it is, but we're going to list it and we're going to ask $40 for it. It's like, it's a piece of crap. It's not worth $5, but so Legion of Gold. Oh, just one little funny thing also thing about Legion of Gold. Again, nobody's going to be able to see this if you're listening to the audio later, is I still have, and I was digging through my Gamma World stuff here. You can hear my papers here, folks, is because I know these characters went through the Legion of Gold. Okay. Mm-hmm. These are my group of characters. This was like a piece of paper that my GM had kept with, hit points and stuff on it. And then if you could see, if people are on the video, you can see like up here, he had drawn a picture of the top of the bunkers that you go into and the our marching order, how are you guys standing outside? So that was from there. That was from that module with the 4 characters. My character, Slag Iron. So Slag Iron, which I think I ripped that name off of your favorite. We talked about it last show, The Steel, the Mist, and the Blazing Sun. I think there was a character named Slag Iron. So I think I ripped the name from that.
Okay.
Because that's what I do. So I'm not very creative. And of course, the heavy influence of 2000 AD. One of we actually had somebody else playing with us, and of course we had Stronium Dog was a character, and he looks just like Stronium Dog.
Oh, I was so hoping he'd be named Stronium Dog, but he'd be is it the arcs that have the? Oh yeah, it does look like Stronium Dog.
Hold on, so they can see it. Yep, Stronium Dog.
I was hoping it'd be. Is it the arcs that are the ones that look like dog-headed people? The mutant creature. Anyways, I was hoping it was going to be a dog-headed person whose name was he was a radioactive dog creature named Stronium Dog.
We just ripped it off of Stronium Dog from 2000 AD. And then we had our 2 NPCs that he controlled, because you can't do it just 2 people. Here's our pure strain human with the name Spikes Harvey Rotten. It's right here, folks. It's right here. I didn't make this shit up. Okay.
Move it to the center of the screen. Move it to the center of the screen so people can see. Yeah, that's Goodilla. Speak so the camera will show you, because that's.
There's Stronium Dog, and then there's the other guy in the bottom, Drock, the other NPC. Again, 2000 AD. But then if you look at it, here was the original picture. Then he didn't like it, and he drew another picture, and the guy looks more like the illustrations of Stainless Steel Rat.
Harry Harrison's Stainless
Steel Rat.
I like the first Drock. I like his hat.
I do too.
Over his eyes. I actually think that's great.
And he wrote on here, he's like, I look like a dork, the other one, here. But look, now I'm cool. And it has a picture of the guy, and it's like he's saying, let's kill him, damn it.
Well, Drock is an anagram of dork. So.
Yep. So, but again, our heavy, I've talked about before, the heavy influence of 2000 AD. So these were actual characters that I went through Legion of Gold with. We got the micro minibus after we completed it and took off, and then we, wound up somewhere in the south and lost the bus, so there you go. So here are my original characters that went through Legion of Gold. Pretty cool. Yep. Now, like we said, Legion of Gold sandbox, pretty good module. It has 1, 2, 3 mini adventures plus the main adventure, which is the Legion of Gold. So they try to set it up to where, you go through, and all the way, by the way, folks, we're going to try not to spoil this, 37-year-old module. But we may get some spoilers, but there's the first mini adventure with the Buggums at the Genzer Goose Ranch. And Then there's the shelters. Then there's
Well,
the
I
water
want to
base.
set it up. I want to set it up to at least say, there's the barony of Horn and Baron Horn who runs this particular area, and his territory is under attack by the Legion of Gold. These strange, sort of armored invaders that use high tech stuff from before the apocalypse, and who are impervious to weapons and so on and so forth. And the mini adventures are, that there's a what do you call it, a reward for stopping this problem for the Baron, because his troops keep getting defeated when they go out to fight the Legion of Gold. And so you as adventurers start poking around at the various rumors that the Legion of Gold is here, or the Legion of Gold has done this, and it takes you on these mini adventures, 3 of them, before you actually find your way to the Legion of Gold. But there are these 3 sort of mini adventures that are
they're helping build you and get you equipment, get you experience, so you can take on the Legion of Gold.
Yeah.
But it's not just the mini adventures. They really map out the whole region. There's all kinds of areas for encounters. You got your normal random encounters, but there's actually named encounter areas that are not part of any of the main quests. They're not part of the mini adventures, but they're just there if you wander upon them. So that's why I said this module is very different and is very reminiscent of a lot of the old Dungeons and Dragons TSR, dungeon modules that they made in the late 70s and early 80s, because it has that to where they just don't give you bare bones. They actually give you a lot of other things they give you some bare bones. They definitely give you the framework for it and give you other encounters in there. Like, oh, here's this here, there's this here, which is pretty cool. And I said, you could actually probably stay there and use it as a base of operations, if you wanted to, because they give you enough detail about the city of Horn to be able to launch your campaign off of there.
Yeah. And the other thing I want to throw out that was sort of a shock to me as a player was the bullet section. There's an entire section adding new weapons to the game, in Appendix B, called which is all rifled muskets, that the Baron's troops are walking around with a lot of rifled muskets that they're making locally, which suddenly redefined for me what the tech level was in some parts of Gamma World. At first it sounds like it's swords, and it's medieval swords and spears, unless it's ancient technology. But older than super technology, older than futuristic technology is being rediscovered. So you got flintlock muskets. And then there's this big section on various kinds of
ballistic weapons, like shotguns, rifles, pistols. They give you some, because they don't really have that in the basic Gamma World book. The only thing they have that are projectile throwers are slug throwers, which are
rubber bullet firing. I guess they use a battery, right? So there must be like Gauss powered, or some sort of mechanical slingshot powered anti-riot weapons.
Yeah, that's all there is.
That fires a rubber ball or a rubber bullet or something to knock down rioters.
Yeah, so this gives you actually, here's shotguns, here's rifles, here's here's pistols. So
which always confused the fuck out of me, because if military standard for the age that the apocalypse happens is laser rifles, what the fuck are these M16s doing and AK-47s doing laying around?
National Guard. I don't know.
Are they like in some guy's collection? Like if I've got a musket that's 100 years old or 200 years old, is this for? It's for reenactors. People who want to reenact, say, the Vietnam War, as opposed to the Civil War. Now it's all AK-47s and M16s or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it can be a little confusing, but at least they do give you information about ammunition, that percentage rate for failures because they're really old and stuff. So at least they tried.
Well, for me, I always thought of it as I wasn't sure what to do with it, but it meant that if I wanted to just do rules for an apocalypse, it was just guns and not ray guns. Now I had the rules to do it.
Yep.
Now I had the rules to do it.
Yeah, but besides the weapons, there's new creatures that you could add there that aren't even just ones that are part of the mini adventures, they're just, in that world. There's new mutations. And then Appendix C, they describe all the villages in the barony of Horn.
Yeah.
They give you a little blurb about, some have like a sentence, some have multiple sentences. So
and for the ones that were destroyed by the Legion of Gold, there's still a description of what they were and what the population was like. So if you get rid of the Legion of Gold and decide you're going to, people are going to rebuild those villages, it'll say what the economy was. This is a place that's all about lumber. This is a place that's all about, stone cutting or quarrying, So you could be involved, in maybe being the guy who's given made a knight by the Baron, and you go out and you get your little fiefdom, you could become the guys who run one of these places being rebuilt.
Oh yeah. Like, again, this module reads like a D&D module to me, with the way they set up everything, and then it also has more treasure tables in the back too. So you have more random junk people could find, like large plastic box, excellent condition, contains a hang glider.
Oh no, that is not my favorite treasure.
Oh, I just read it at random.
My favorite, plastic box, table treasure 2, plastic container. No, that's not it. There's one of them that contains fucking miniatures. Okay.
Oh yes.
There's one that contains lead miniatures. And first of all, I'm like, oh yeah, here we go. Plastic box, fair condition, contains 10 unpainted lead figurines in good condition. I'm like,
so they found your burial site, Scott.
Yeah. I thought, wait a minute, lead? Why aren't they using pewter? Why isn't this, whatever the new? Why isn't it Duralloy? I want my figures in Duralloy so they won't bend and snap the barrels of their guns off anymore.
They're made from Domars.
Yeah, melt down your Domars. Use them to make miniatures. So yeah, that was hilarious that there's a box of fucking miniatures.
Well, again, it's the product of its time.
Yeah,
because that's what was available. Because there's even this aftermath adventure, Operation Morpheus, I think it is, where you wake up out of the cryo sleep at the university in Australia. They talk about the computer. I've been trying to find. I've been looking through the module. I can't find it. It talks about the computers in the computer lab, and they made a point saying that there were 256K of memory, like they were this super high, that they were really high tech. Wow, 256K of memory. Well, because you figure when this thing was written, your home computer had 64K of memory, so it was like, that's like, wow, that's like quadruple that. Amazing, the future technology has.
Oh my God. Yeah. So, all these games in the 80s always underestimated with the fucking information age. I remember the size of the computers in square tonnage of starship space in Traveler. And there was even this thing about how you can only run a certain number of programs at the same time. I was like, wait a minute, what tech level is this again? We've got, we're jumping through hyperspace, but I have to keep changing floppy disks in my fucking computer so I can run a gunnery program or a navigation program. Holy shit!
Yes, yes. The answer is yes.
They got that wrong. Oh boy.
But I know it's
suddenly Frank Herbert doesn't seem like such an idiot for when he wrote Dune, and he just wrote computers out of his world. You know. So that humans did human minds trained to do what computers can do instead. It's like, okay, problem solved. I won't look like a retard if the technology changes.
That was visionary. It was. So Legion of Gold. So anyway, very detailed. There's a lot of little hidden things in the game in this adventure. I've read through this thing so many times. There's a lot of little things that, unless you're really exploring and digging, you don't even know what's going to be there. It's just like the way they just put this random information in there that the players may or may not ever find it, and all the, because it's like, what? Because I've looked.
This is the old days of gaming where your game master could be a dick and say, okay, you search the room, where do you look? And if you don't say the exact place you're looking, you don't find it. There's no skill, search room, right?
So it was actually practical, not like the instant gratification gimme because I have no sense of character death gaming that it exists now.
Yeah. There was no skill search room. There's no. You literally have to. I mean, depending on who your game master is, maybe you just say we search the room. But there's some things like, underneath the bugum eggs is X, and I'm like, did people really lift up the big gelatinous bugum eggs to look under them to find the shotgun shells? That seems a bit much. That seems to expect a bit much from the players.
Oh, I'm all for it because, again, we'll stay away from the debate about how gaming is weak now.
Weaklings.
However, I've read a couple of good, interesting things lately about how
Can I just put my cursor over it and it gives me a list of shit that's there?
Yeah. Well, the whole thing with like characters don't fear permadeath and like I read people who ran some people through some old school models and they whined and cried about how their characters died. It's just like, it's not a video game, but you know what? That's what gaming is now. You're going to cater to the audience. They're not making games for us anymore. They're making games for the 10 to 15-year-old us. And that's what they know, So yeah, you can't blame them for making things for their audience because they want to sell products,
Marketing.
But anyway, I digress about being a fussy old grognard. But yeah, no, the Legion Code, it has all this weird stuff like in this place, buried underneath this, blah, blah. Like, how are they going to know to look there, But if you do, the reward is cool,
Yeah. So what things you want to get into as far as like talking about things that, we talked about some of the, I guess, in jokes. Do we want to throw out some of the in jokes and references?
Oh yeah, there's definitely a lot of in jokes and references. Me and Scott were just talking about one. He'll talk about that in a second. Well, actually, they're both related to in the second mini adventure with the Fallout shelters. There's two in jokes or two references or Easter eggs, whatever you want to call them. One of them is a reference to A Boy and His Dog. There's creatures in it called screamers, which they glow in the dark, they make a lot of noise, and they're harken back to the creatures in A Boy and His Dog because there are creatures that they run away from that glow and scream and make noise.
Glow green. They even mentioned the same color.
Yeah. So they definitely did a nod to A Boy and His Dog in there because it's in that. But then also in the bunkers, you find we'll spoil it. Just tell them you find you find a box.
Yeah, you find a box, an empty box that says Zugwarts on it. ZGWRRTZ. Zugwarts. And that is a reference to the TSR game Awful Green Things from Outer Space, where Zugwarts is the universal food on the spaceship that is being overrun. I'm suddenly forgetting the name of the spaceship from Awful Green Things, but it's on that's the name of the food on the ship is Zugwarts, and you can use it as a weapon against the Awful Green Things because it'll sometimes act as a poison or repellent and chase them off as they're attempting to overrun the ship. Oh, the starship Zuntar, Znutar, Znuntar, Zuntar. I don't know. I'm gonna say Zuntar.
Now, when we say Awful Green Things in Outer Space was TSR, actually, when it originally came out, and it came out before Legion of Gold, obviously. Mm-hmm. It came out in the late 70s, and I think it was Tom Wham who made that game and illustrated it. He was a TSR alumni back then. So it was originally owned by Awful Green Things was originally owned by TSR. but now I think it's past hands, and it's now Steve Jackson Games owns it now.
Yes, I think so.
So, but back in the day, it was a TSR product. Like if you look at any of their old catalogs, you'll see Awful Green Things from Outer Space in there, along with Snit's Revenge, which was another Tom Wham game. So, yeah, so they reference that. So little in jokes, and I'm sure there's other in jokes in there that we just missed.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to figure out who John Freeman is, because in the one base, the one underwater facility, there's a plaque that says something about facility whatever established by the U.S. government, and it says John F. Reeman, Reeman, Secretary of Technological Advancement. Well, I'm presuming that Jon Freeman. I was just trying to Google that a second ago. I was thinking, is this a reference to an employee, John Freeman? Was that an employee at TSR again, way back in the day? But I don't know. I don't know what it's a reference to yet. If somebody figures out the reference, for God's sake, put it in the comments below.
Yeah, let us know. Funny. I didn't. I'm glad people are watching on YouTube, because 35 minutes ago when we started, I forgot to post. I forgot to post the post to say watch us live, so people found us. Man.
And yet they did. Holy crap.
So now I just posted it 35 minutes late. Join us live. Well, if you're just joining it now, folks, we're already most of the way through this, because I forgot to press the button, but at least you can watch it on there now.
Let's see what else. I was going to say that just sort of weird things that always stood out for me in the game. Weird things that always stood out when maybe I'll ask you the same question. When you get around to and again, it's pretty detailed, although some of the locations are really detailed, and the city of Harn is very detailed. And one of the things that's detailed is the Baron's sort of fortress residence in the middle of town, and what kind of gear he has on hand, and how many soldiers. And there's a vehicle shed where he's got a bunch of vehicles. And inexplicably, I was even as a kid, when I read this almost 40 years ago, I remember reading this and thinking, oh, okay, he's got a turbine car and some what they call an environmental car, an internal combustion military vehicle, hover car, blah, blah, blah. And then it says 4 bubble cars.
Oh, yeah, he's got a whole garage. He's freaking, he should be on Cribs, Gamma World.
But he's got 4 bubble cars. And as a kid, I remember reading this going, bubble car, isn't that the one that's described as the most advanced vehicle in the world that can fly anywhere and underwater and can go to the moon or something?
He's the Baron.
But he's got 4 of them, and he doesn't have a single suit of decent power armor. His priorities are completely fucked up as far as I'm concerned.
I told you, Cribs, Gamma World,
He should totally have a much cooler set of power armor and much lamer vehicles, because I'm like, wait a minute, you've got 4 vehicles that can go to the moon and back?
Yeah,
why aren't you on the moon?
But the vehicles don't really have an impact to the course of the adventure.
Zero.
But if there was access to suits of power armor, that would totally change. Well, you know what? If he had suits of power armor, he would have been able to defeat the Legion of Gold.
Good point. Clearly, he invested improperly. It's like, well, I had a suit of powered assault armor, but I traded it for a bubble car. Another one, sir. Another. You don't know me. Come on. He's got them all painted up like the Bhagwan Rajneesh, where one's plaid and one's all in gold, got flames on it.
Oh yeah, because again, you wouldn't have, if you would have had the DSX Machina of power armor, you wouldn't be hired to defeat the Legion of Gold. So yeah. Actually, I went to the YouTube page. I usually shut off the comments because I don't have time to monitor the comments. Somebody did say that there was a module included in the 3rd edition. And they're right. I think there is a module there. I just don't remember because I never really played 3rd edition. Even though I have it, it's just one of those things I never really looked at it because I didn't particularly care for the rule set. So I'd forgotten there was a module there. Somebody also wanted to know if we're going to review the latest Legion of Gold from 2011, because he knows we already know how you feel about Gamma World 7th Edition. Well, if you already know how I feel about Gamma World 7th Edition, why would you be asking me if I'm going to review the Legion of Gold from that Steam Impala fucking crap edition?
How is there a Legion of Gold with that? Okay, never mind.
They make a box set for Legion of Gold. They make a box set for Famine and Fargo, which is a box that has token counters and giant maps, because that's all 7th edition was. Like, here's your map encounter to fight, because it's really a board game or a tacticals miniature game, not a role-playing game. So yeah, you answered your own question, wink, wink, when your little wink, saying that you know how I feel about it. So no, we're not going to review it. We're talking about the real version, GW1 First Edition Gamma World Legion of Gold. Let's see. Somebody else just say, I don't normally do this. Somebody says that they never played, but they're digging it. Cool. Again, that's how you learn about other things. And somebody says, I'm shutting off the comments. Good thing I don't have anything important to say. Okay, good. I didn't say I am shutting the comments off. I said I should shut comments off, because I don't really have a chance to see them, because I don't go to them. So normally I do disable them. So Scott Jones, if you got something to say, say it, because I'm going away from that page and I'm not looking at the comments again the rest of the show. So
lay it on.
Lay it on us, buddy. So yeah, I know there's some ridiculous. That is true. There's ridiculous. He has the freaking Cribs car garage full of vehicles, and then also at the end, part of your reward is, I think, when you go to the Legion of Gold edition section, they give you a micro flint minibus, which is half-assed and broken down and doesn't work, so you could get to that location because it's like on the other side of the map, But it's like, really, you're giving me this 73 Pinto, but you have all the
dude. He's got a hover armored personnel carrier, and yet somehow, we're doing it this way.
Okay, hold on. See, now I have to break it out. All right, so the vehicle shed. Let me get my glass. I got my glasses on so I can read this. The vehicle shed. 1 turbine car, 3 Flint cars, 1 environmental car, 5 civilian internal combustion vehicles, 2 military alcohol combustion vehicles, 1 hover car, military armored with a fusion rifle gun. I don't know why he doesn't use that to fight the Legion of Gold. 2 armored personnel carriers, hover type, 1 hover car, and 4 bubble cars. So he also has a light cargo lifter, 2 light cargo transports, 1 agricultural bot, 1 engineering bot standard, and 3 general household robotoids. Okay, so so Cribs,
a lot.
Cribs, Cribs, the Baron of Horn. Baron Jameis Horns, Cribs. So then when you go to that last adventure, let me see the piece of junk he gives you. I wish you could get the Aqua vehicle in the 3rd adventure.
Well, you can't take it there.
I know, but it's cool.
It's super cool. But and the thing is that chances are you'll end up having to turn it over to the Baron. So I guess he gets to start a navy or something.
Yeah, he needs naval power. Will they let you take equipment?
Yes.
Rifles and stuff like that. I'm looking here. I can't. Oh God. Treasure items. Leaving Horn. Okay. You were led outside the palace to a small plaza where a Flint car microbus is parked. You know what that sounds like? It sounds like it's basically an atomic-powered fucking VW bus.
Yeah. It's the mystery machine, sir. You've just been given the mystery machine.
Yeah, so it also has its full atomic power cell, food and fuel for a week, radiation, travel tools, repair kit, fire extinguisher, red flares, orange smoke, all this crazy crap. Which again, it shows for its time. Like it's funny, but it's basically a piece of junk. Yeah. There's a 10% chance per 10 minutes of such treatment above 35. If you go above 35 miles per hour on the ground, there's a 10% chance every 10 minutes that's going to break down in forever. So it's a total piece of crap he gives you. It's the freaking the magic bus from the Who. But there's a lot in this. There's a lot in besides. It's cool that it has a bunch of connecting mini adventures. I liked the bugums and the shelters, and the aquatic one doesn't really, I don't know, it doesn't contribute too much, but it's interesting.
The aquatic one doesn't move you closer. Well,
there's some information you gain.
You're right. You're right. Actually, the aquatic one, the androids, or maybe I should call them cyborgs, they know where the problem is, and they're working on it themselves. So you really do pinpoint where that's your biggest clue to where the actual location of the Legion of Gold is finding out that these guys are already on the job, trying to track it down. Excuse me. I'll tell you what though, maybe this sounds weird, but when I ran this, I hated, I don't know why as a kid, but I hated the fact that the underwater base had a damaged dome. And the damaged dome was the thing that has the base arsenal, the communications section, and the 5 cryo-frozen humans from before the collapse. And it's this, water-filled, section that you can't get into, but somehow you're expected to get those humans out. That always bothered me. I don't know why. And so I for my players, rather than make them learn how to scuba dive and then learn how to get the humans out of the cryo sleep, or learn how to get them out of there while underwater, I just went with the thing where I just said, okay, maybe if I'm going to damage something, it'll be communications or the weapons section, so that this base is isolated from the network of the created, right? The cryptic society of androids that left over from the android rebellion. Maybe I'll damage one section of it and leave the other 2 open, so that the players can at least get to the stuff that's cool, right?
Oh yeah, I hated, like, really, we can't get to all that crap.
It seemed like it was like all the stuff really well described that you can't have, and I'm like, I'm not sure the players are going to be able, with their Stone Age technology, figure out how to use the scuba suits and then underwater get into the damaged section and then manage to remove from the damaged section the caskets, which are huge, which are a giant deal. If you get 5 humans from the before times and get them back to the university in Harn, the restorationists back there are going to shit their pants and give you anything,
But I want to know is, why didn't the androids? They have the equipment to repair it.
Yeah, also to repair, or to get the guys out. It says the androids presumed the humans were dead. It's like, well, why didn't they just put on the scuba gear and just go and check?
They don't need scuba gear. They're fucking androids.
Well, I guess you're right. I guess they wouldn't need the scuba gear, right? But why can't they just walk in there and check?
Yeah, why couldn't they just go out there, repair it? So that's a little bit of a plot hole. That's a little bit, it's, again, like every other early Dungeons and Dragons module. There's always something dumb in it. Like, why did they do that?
Why describe a section that's damaged you can't get access to? That's actually a brilliant idea. If you want to, like, knock out the communications section, it flooded, it ruined all the communications gear, there's no replacement parts, but They're able to salvage the arsenal. They repair it, drain it, salvage the arsenal, and then the cryogenic, I guess, prison cells, are still viable. So, they've cleaned the place up, but the communications are still knocked out. You still have a reason why some lake monster smashed into the base or whatever.
Or again, it could have been left there for later. Like if the players make a Hornet base of operations, do they stay there? Could they go back? Hey, let's go back to the Aqua base, with the androids, and let's explore it more. So they've left things to where you can maybe in the future do it, or it gives you more adventure hooks later on. Yeah. They do a lot of that in this module. There's so many areas mapped out, on the DM map with encounters, so there's a lot of stuff there. And that was the other cool thing about the module. Was the module is kind of like a, again, people listening can't see this. It's basically like a GM screen.
Oh, yeah.
On the inside, for the GM, you have all the maps, so they don't even need to take them out. And then on the back side is the on the back side is the player's map, which they'll get. So the player's map will sit out there for them to look at, and they could tell you. And you have all the maps as a GM on the inside. So that was some good design, at least in that sense.
Yeah. And the idea that, and I love, this is back in the day when you'd get the two maps. You get the player map, and then there's the game master map that has where all the booby traps and all the nasty is. And sure, the player map shows you where the radiation zone is, but it doesn't show you what the intensity of the radiation zone is. It doesn't show you how the radiation zone gets more intense the closer you go to whatever's in the middle of it. That was really cool too. That they had that. I really liked the use of two different maps, one for the players and one for the game master.
Oh yeah, no, that was, again, that's
very D&D.
Very D&D. And of course, one of the cool things I like too is on the inside cover of the book, on the outer cover of the booklet, is one of my favorite Gamma World art pieces, is the Earl Otis piece with the guy in the tunnel with the fusion rifle with the bugums. I love that piece. I found a really good high res scan of it online, and I printed it out on an 8.5 by 11 sheet, and I have it. It's on the wall, the wall of the apocalypse. So, but yeah. Again, without going into any super spoiler detail about the module, but overall, again, I think it's except for some dumb plot holes, the car garage, some dumb things.
There's things like that, and there's things like some things are a little bit too in stasis. You know what I mean? You get to a place and nothing has changed there.
Yeah.
In a really long time. When I really feel like sometimes they do have things to change. In fact, the bunkers may be the best version of an area that changes over time, and that there's a sign that things have changed.
Yeah. They have not. They've aged in time. Yeah. You're right. So, but again, overall, it's a good module. There's a lot of good stuff in it. A lot of again other material like there's the one thing with the giant. I won't talk. There's a giant lake somewhere on the map.
Oh God!
It has this really cool really. Oh my God! But you know what? How are you ever going to find out that stuff is there? And how are you going to battle what's there? Because it's impossible.
The lake monster is fucked up, and the idea that it is eaten everything in the lake down to the microbiological bacteria and algae in the leaks. The water is the cleanest, purest water you could ever, at least as far as animals and bacteria and things like that. I don't know. Maybe the lake monster shits alkaline or something, or something that poisons the water. But the idea is this perfectly clear, perfectly sterile lake, nothing alive in it.
But it's not, and it's not part of the adventure.
Nope.
It's just a little side note. There's a lot of little side notes in this, which again makes it really cool.
It's a unique monster.
Yeah, there's these little mini encounters all over the place. Now, the reward for that is tremendous if you could accomplish it, you know. But there's a lot of little, like these miniature, these micro encounters within this, like within the lands. Like if you just decide to wander around looking for stuff, there's so much stuff that you encounter that they put laid out for the game master that he doesn't even have to populate, you know. So I think it's pretty cool. It's pretty well done. You know, it's a nice adventure.
Well, the one thing I would say about the lake monster that it's a little, without getting into too many details, and by the way, it's got abilities that really give me the creeps. Its special ability gives me the creeps, but and it's got some great ways that it's a problem. But at one point it says, let's see here, it lurks underwater and is basically immune to all forms of attack. But then it has 1,000 hit points. And I'm like, they mentioned the only thing that can hurt it. And then they say it has 1,000 hit points. I thought the only thing that can hurt it, you know, depends on an intensity attack, like radiation or poison. And I'm like, wait a minute. If it's only damaged by an intensity attack, why does it even bother listing the hit points? It felt like maybe an editing problem, you know. I'm not sure how I felt about that. I mean, am I remembering it right that intensity attacks like poison and radiation, it's just like you roll a con roll and either it kills you or it doesn't. It doesn't do damage in Gamma World.
No, well, no, it can. Hold on.
Check out the radiation and poison rules, because I could have sworn that intensity attacks either kill you or you don't. You have an intensity rating. There's a saving throw versus that, versus your con or whatever, and then that's it. That's the only possible way of dealing with it. We're going to edit this part out so it's really short.
No, I mean, depending on the level, you know. Well, yeah, I mean, if it's a high enough radiation, it could kill it, or I also could do a lot of damage. So, but still. 1,000 hit points is a lot of fucking hit points.
Does radiation actually do
hit dice? It can.
Oh, it does. Oh, geez. Okay, so hit dice, it can do hit dice of damage. Okay.
Depending on the constitution, the level, intensity, you know, there's a matrix to look, you know. Okay. So,
I'd forgotten.
So anyway, yeah, there's a lot of those little encounters. So again, overall, you know, for 1981, still in the early day, you know, Dungeons and Dragons was only published in 1974, so gaming had only been around for, you know, in its modern sense, you know, role-playing games only been around for 7 years, so it was still in its infancy and it was still growing. So not a bad module for, you know, for a pretty good game.
The descriptions are super short. This is only 38 pages total, including all maps and external cover. 38 pages. The descriptions are super short, but they're really evocative, right? I mean, I get a really good idea of what's going on.
They're very descriptive. They do a very good description in a short amount of text.
And they waste no time. They waste no time and no words with flowery descriptions. It's just bang, and then it's enough to light up your brain to be able to create something to hang on that skeletal structure.
Yeah, and it's up to the DM if they want to elaborate, embellish it more. You know, they give again, like I said earlier, they give you the framework to go further with this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I'm really impressed at how lean and yet how complete and tidy it is for a game master to crack it open and just start playing it.
Yeah, and they can. You know, my fantasy was always because unfortunately I played it. There was Dragon issue 52 was issue 52 was a Caviter of the Subtrain, a little mini adventure. I always thought it'd be cool. It's like, oh well, too bad, you know, we didn't know about this, and my GM started off with as a beginning adventure like the you know, the Cavern of the Subtrain, so you get a little experience and a couple of one or two minor doodads, you know. Then you're traveling around because you can place it anywhere, and then you wind up at you know the Barony of Horn, and then you go into the Legion of Gold. That would be cool to kind of connect, you know, all those adventures somehow, you know.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, you know. I just suddenly had this image of you start off at Albuquerque Spaceport you're blown into orbit to hit the space station, escape from the space station, and your reentry doesn't take you to Albuquerque. You just come down in like a parachuted escape pod and just land in Harn and just get out.
You could,
like, well, that was a close escape. You'll never see Albuquerque again. You've been blown out of Mexico or whatever they call New Mexico in Gamma World. Out to I guess Gitchagumi. It's up. I guess Harn is supposed to be near Lake Michigan.
Yeah, like Michigan.
Yeah.
There's no reason you couldn't do that, because once you get back to the spaceport, there's a dramatic scene of you escaping, and then there's nothing else to do there. Yeah. So you could do that. So the possibilities are endless in the theater of the mind. I don't know.
Oh wow, waxing poetic. Have you been drinking today? Is that
no? Because that's what they call everything now. It's like doesn't matter about the rules and the edition. It's all the theater of the mind that matters, because we're so pretentious. Man, I am a hateful person when it comes to gaming.
Jared wants give me a goddamn map and a dungeon crawl, or in this case, in this game, a series of dungeon crawls.
Yes.
Because you really do get 4 dungeon crawls for the price of 1.
Yep. Absolutely. So we're going to wrap it, folks, but that's Legion of Gold. So we talked a lot about a little bit of its history, what's involved, some of my own experiences with it, just a lot of how we felt about the game. So, again, you could get them on eBay. People are asking some ridiculous prices. You could probably find them cheap, but there's probably a chance. I'm thinking that they may eventually put some of this stuff on print on demand, because WotC has been putting a lot of old gaming stuff, the classic stuff, on Drive-Thru-RPG.
Well, didn't they just put first edition?
They just put first edition. 4th edition rulebook was out a while ago. They have 7th edition on there. 6th edition books are there. So they're putting those out. Plus, they did Boot Hill. They're putting so much of the old D&D catalog on there. So I wouldn't be surprised if eventually we start to see some of the modules come up there, and then you can just get them in PDF really cheap. Not that you can't find them pirated there, but a lot of times the quality is crap.
Well, I'm seeing Gamma Knights. I'm seeing 1st edition.
The Gamma Knights is 4th edition.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I'm not seeing that. I just looked, and no, I'm not seeing anything but that stuff from that 6th edition stuff. Yeah, I'm just seeing the 6th edition stuff and the 4th edition stuff, and then not very much of the 4th edition. They don't have.
Well, again, give it time. Give it time. They may eventually. I think they're seeing. They're trying to jump on the retro wagon, like what other people have been doing for freaking years, and putting this stuff out at least on PDF and print on demand. So, like I said, Boot Hill is there now. This Gamma World stuff, all the old D&D catalog. So you might see these come out in the PDF. And I found at least recently, I got the PDF of the 1st edition Gamma World, and they did a good job with the scans and the quality. Nice, clean copies. Not grainy, crappy. It's nice and clean. So. I gave them, a few Domars for that, just to get a nice, clean, official copy,
Fucking Domars.
Remember, Domars are stupid. I love Gamma World, but Domars are stupid.
The invention of the creation of the bottle cap for Fallout is it feels like somebody looked at Gamma World and said just what you said. Oh my God, there's no such thing as fucking coins in the future.
Plastic coins that probably look like the fucking Fisher Price ones that you got in the little cash register when you're a fucking baby. That's all I can think of when I think of Domars.
Plastic ducats.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous.
Fucking hell! Everyone walking around with their pockets jangling with fucking
plastic coins. They got the plastic part right, but they totally missed the fucking mark. It's like it's a plastic cred stick where you have your money on, not plastic coins.
Oh my God!
Well, it was 1978.
I tell you what would be funny is if it had literally been credit cards. People were using the plastic credit card that is dead, doesn't work, but you have a stack of them like they mean something. You know what I mean? And like
I could go for that.
You know, the red though, if they're red colored, then they're worth this, and if they're blue colored, they're worth this. You know?
That would make more sense. But anyway, so that's it, folks. That's Legion of Gold. I haven't run it, but I played in it. Scott has run it. It is a classic. I think it's still a good module. If you like some old school gaming and like Gamma World, I think it's a good module, and it could be a good campaign. You can make a campaign out of the whole thing, the whole area. So, that's it. Again, I recommend it. If you can get your hands on it, you can get some people together to play Gamma World. Do it. So,
agreed.
And that's it, folks. Like I said, we did 3 shows in a month. I'm like crazy, but we'll do something again soon. I'm not sure what we're going to do yet. Me and Scott will have to talk offline. Maybe we'll do another off topic just to talk about more all the stuff that's been coming out. As a filler, and maybe we'll do movies. Books are harder because we have to make sure we've both read them, and then books take more time to read than watching a movie. So, but we'll figure it out, and we'll let you know. Like I said, we're definitely back. We're not going anywhere. Like I said, if you're watching this on the YouTube channel, subscribe to the YouTube channel, so then you'll always see when we post the new videos. But basically, I always tell people to go to the blog, podcast@groundzero.com. Anything we do, I post there first, and that's the main hub. Subscribe to the email. It just basically sends you an email. Basically, it just sends you the post that I've just posted, so you know that something's going on. That's a good way to keep apprised. And then if you just like the audio, it's posted to the blog, and it's also on iTunes if you're an iTunes user. So there you go, folks. That's it. So thanks for joining us yet again. That's all I got. We'll see you in the wastelands. Good night.
Good night.